Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, beta.
Good morning, ma'am.
Your notes of chapter 2.
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
you were not well. Could you finish your notes for chapter 2? Or you were not well, not yet able?
Yes, ma'am. Only one page is left. The rest all is done. The
I did
last
not ask.
introduction,
Yeah,
ending
you
is
were not
done.
well.
Ending is left.
So I thought, let me not ask you. Once you finish, you let me know. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. I'll send them as soon as I'm finished. So only the ending is left.
Because we have 3 chapters in the UT Veda. So I was wanting to finish these 3 chapters, have a bit of revision and tell you which kind of questions, which type of questions come. So that you get accustomed or you get acquainted to the pattern of the paper.
Yes, ma'am.
It's new for you. As the classes pass first, second, third period, I've seen most of the sections. Strength is good. By the time it is the fifth and the sixth period, I don't know, the net finishes or the energy finishes, the strength is very less. I
Ma'am,
wonder,
we get tired by that time.
I
It's
do
not about the
understand.
net. We just get tired watching at the screen. That's why many of us don't join.
I've seen this in many classes. The last 2 periods, the strength is very, very less. And even in the first period, it's 7:30. Most of them join at 8, 7:45. After all, children. And when the weather is good, they have a good sleep. They don't want to get up. Which is your first period every day?
Economics.
Every day it's economics.
Yes,
So you
ma'am.
have to attend or you are also late at times?
I attend the classes most days. Some days I'm just lazy, but most days I try to attend.
That is what I was discussing with ma'am also that day. We were discussing about gender literacy and culture. I make you speak for the reason that once you speak, you'll also remember. Let's talk about economic expansion now. See, the kingdom was very rich. They had harbors, mines, quarries. What are quarries?
Ma'am, where they get metals, they dig the earth and get metals.
Stone quarries, beta. They are mines. Metals, we have mines. Okay. Quarries, we have stone and coal, all those things. Big marble, stones. Brickyards. I
Ma'am, then
hope you
what
know
is
what
the
are
difference
brickyards.
between mines and quarries?
Mines is what you told me, from where metals are extracted. Okay,
Okay.
mining is done. And quarries is basically where you get granite, marble, these
Okay.
kind of stones. Then we have brickyards, what you call in Hindi eat ke bhatte. Bricks were made over there, and olive oil factories. These are all huge investments, beta. So if we have all these things in a kingdom, it shows that the kingdom was economically rich. We cannot open a harbor or make a harbor with 1 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees. It needs a huge investment. Similarly, mining needs a huge investment, a huge labor. Quarries again need a lot of investment, lot of labor. Brick fields, same process. Large area of land is needed. So if a kingdom has all these things, it shows very clearly, big factories and all, that economically it was a strong kingdom. Wheat, wine, olive oil were traded and consumed in huge quantities. And the business was basically, they came mainly from Spain, the Gallic provinces, North Africa, Egypt, to a lesser extent, Italy, where conditions were best for these crops. So we had different areas contributing these crops, but the main 3 you remember: wheat, wine, and olive oil. Which 3, beta?
Okay. Wheat, wine, and olive oil.
Yes, bache. See this. Liquids like wine and olive oil were transported in containers, which were called as amphorae. because both of them are liquids. Wine is also a liquid and olive oil is a liquid. So we cannot carry it in a normal truck. Like you must have seen these days, petrol and diesel, it is carried in those circle, cylindrical kind of trucks, containers.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, amphorae. What were these containers called?
Amphorae.
Yes, Peter. Because mainly liquids were to be transported. We talked about two liquids, olive oil and
Wine.
how do we know that we had these huge containers? Because we have found the fragments and shreds of a very large number of these. Large number of amphorae, small fragments and pieces that we discovered. Monte Testaccio in Rome is said to contain the remnants of over 50 million vessels. This place in Rome, we have got remains of 50 amphorae, 50 leftovers of these containers we have got. And it has been possible for archaeologists to reconstruct the precise shapes of these containers, tell us what they carried, and see exactly where they were made by examining the clay content and matching the finds with the clay pits throughout the Mediterranean. Because we got so much of evidence, we have got about the remains of how many such vessels?
50 million.
50. So now it is very easy. The archaeologists gathered all the information and tried to reconstruct how did they look like, what was the shape of these containers, what did they carry, and they were made by which kind of a clay. How did they do? They compared their clay with the clay of different areas, and they found that this kind of a clay with which these containers were made was found along which pits, which area? Along the
Mediterranean.
very good. So now the archaeologists are very confident. They say that the Spanish olive oil, just their example, is a commercial enterprise that reached its peak in the years 140 to 160. Peak business time of this product was olive oil was there in which time to which time? In years 140 to 160.
60.
The Spanish olive oil of this period was mainly carried in a container called Dressel 20. See this, it's coming from Spain. It was carried in containers. What were these containers called in Spain?
Dressel 20.
They're not actually called Dressel 20. The person who first imagined that what was the design, they were called as what? Earlier you got the name. What were they called? Tell me, what were these containers called?
Amphorae.
Yes, Peter. Now, the first archaeologist who tried to dress this, dress is make a design. Supposing you design a dress means you're making a new design. So the first archaeologist who guessed and who actually gave a diagram or a figure that how these looked like Dressel. Okay, what was his name?
Dressel.
Dressel. That is why these containers were given name as Dressel 20 after the name of the archaeologist who first established their shape. If the finds of Dressel 20 are widely scattered across sites in the Mediterranean, this suggests the Spanish olive oil circulated very widely. Now we have got the remains of these containers in different places. This proves that olive oil was traded in different parts of the country. Different parts it is there, beta. Widely traded. By using such evidence, the remains of amphorae of different kinds and their distribution maps, archaeologists are able to show that Spanish producers succeeded in capturing markets for olive oil from the Italian counterparts. Olive oil was coming from Italy also, it was coming from Spain also. But who was dominating in this business, Spanish or Italians?
Spanish.
Yes, now they're giving you a reason. People are trying to guess. This must be happening because Spanish producers supplied a better quality oil at a lower prices. So what is the probable reason that these people are guessing? See, olive oil is coming from both the places, but with the remains, we get to know that more trading was done of which oil, Spanish or the
Spanish.
yes, yes. Why? What is the guess we are making?
Ma'am, that better quality of oil must have come at lower prices.
From Spain. So obviously, this was more popular. The big landowners from different regions competed with each other for control of the main markets for the goods they produced. Like we have traditional competition, business competition nowadays, that time also we had a competition from each other to capture the main markets. The success of the Spanish olive groves was then repeated by the North African producers. Olive estates in this part of the empire dominated production for most of the 3rd and the 4th century. So basically, these Spanish people, they were very successful in the olive business. Same thing, we have North Africa also. North African producers were also very successful because they had large estates where olive was grown. And in the 3rd and the 4th century, mainly what was grown in North Africa in large estates?
Olive.
Yes. So North Africa is dominating, but in the 4th century till 400. But after 425, the North African dominance was broken by the East. Till 4th century, who was dominating, beta? North Africa.
North
But
African.
in the 5th and the 6th century, we had Turkey. Okay, it was known as Southern Asia Minor. Turkey, Syria, and Palestine. Which 3 people came into power for olive oil now and started exporting wine and olive oil? Turkey, Syria, and
Palestine.
very good. So initially, we had wine and olive mainly coming from
North Africa and Spanish.
yes, beta, and they dominated till which century?
The 3rd and the 4th century.
There was a change in the 5th and the 6th century. We had 3 more people entering into this business of wine and olive oil. Which 3 places?
Turkey, Syria, Palestine.
Yes, they became very powerful. So containers from Africa showed dramatically reduced presence on the Mediterranean markets. So when they started dominating, this decreased, the African share decreased in the market. Dramatic reduced, बहुत ही कम. Behind these broad movements of prosperity of individual regions rose and fell depending on how effectively they could organize the production and transport of the goods and the quality of the goods. Now, these 3 places started becoming prosperous. Turkey, Syria, and Palestine, because they were dominating the commercial market, because they were able to produce goods in a proper way, and the quality of goods was also good. You remember when we were talking about Spanish oil, we said it was sold more because what was good?
The quality.
Yes. So these 3 places have already become rich because of olive oil. Let's talk about areas which were exceptionally fertile. Italy, Sicily, Egypt, Galilee, Tunisia, Southern Gaul. Just 1 or 2 is enough for you to remember. They were the wealthiest parts of the empire. If we go according to the writers, there were 2 writers, Strabo and Pliny. They said that these were the wealthiest areas of the empire. The best kind of wine came from Campania. Best kind of wine, it came from which area?
Campania.
Campania. That time wine was in lot of demand. So the best kind of wine, it is mentioned. Who are the 2 people who have written about this?
Strabo and Pliny.
Campania is a place in Italy. So the best kind of wine is coming from Italy, a place that is Campania, Sicily, and also from Byzantium. Exported large quantities of wheat to Rome. They are sending wheat, wine to Rome. Galilee was densely cultivated. Every inch of the soil has been cultivated by the inhabitants, wrote the historian. So you can understand, not even 1 inch of land was left barren. Every inch of land they cultivated it. And that is why they had so much of wheat and they were exporting it to Rome. So wheat and wine is being exported from these areas, if you see. Numerous estates along the banks of the river Guadalquivir in the south of Spain. We don't have to go to so much details. Just remember that these 2-3 places, they became very, very prosperous because they were exporting 2 things. Which 2 things?
Wheat and wine.
And they had so much of production because what did they not do? They did not leave the...
They did not any of the inland barren or uncultivated.
So much so that one of the historian writes that every inch is cultivated. So we are talking about Italy, we're talking about Sicily and Egypt. They have become rich because they're growing a lot of wheat and also exporting wine. On the other hand, large expanses of Roman territory were in a less advanced state. So we were talking about 2 rich people, 2 rich areas. Now let us talk about the ones which are not very advanced. This is one. Transhumance was widespread in the countryside of Numidia. Okay, transhumans, you know, na, the herdsmen, they keep coming every year from higher regions to lower regions. They keep coming down. This is transhumans. So they're still doing this. So there is no fixed agriculture. These pastoral and semi-nomadic communities were often on the move. They carried their oven-shaped heads, which were called as mepelia, with them. But see, those people have settled down. They are growing wheat. They are exporting. They are growing wine. But these people, they are not settled. Basically, transhumans. They keep on moving. Their oven-shaped hats. What were they called?
Mepelia.
Yes, beta. Now, when they used to come to Rome, they used to get a lot of pastures, lot of grasslands. But when North Africa expanded, people started living there. So the pastures decreased. The green land which was available decreased. And the movements were tightly regulated. Now they did not have much space to move around because they generally go to areas where there are pastures so that the animals can graze. But now very few pastures were left because there were cities. People had started settling down. So the movement was tightly regulated, means they were moving in very small areas. Even in Spain, the north was much less developed and inhabited largely by Celtic speaking peasantry. The farmers who spoke which language? We had discussed this language in the morning.
Celtic.
Yes, Celtic. They lived in hilltop villages. The hilltop villages were called as castella. The villages settled at the top of hills. What were they known as?
Castilla.
Now compare the differences, beta. One side they are so rich, they are exporting things, they are growing things, they've captured the market, they are dominating the market. And the other side of the Roman Empire, the people are still having this kind of a life. They're transhumans, they're moving from one place to another place, and they're struggling so much for their survival because now the pastures are also not left. Pastures are not left much. Many of them used to live in villages on the top of the hills. Such a difficult life. What was those villages, hilltop villages called?
Castilla.
Yes, beta, they were
Castilla.
called Castilla. So they are saying whenever you think about the Roman Empire, never forget these differences. That some of the areas are so prosperous, and the other side, there are so many hardships for the people. We should also be careful not to imagine that because this was the ancient world, the forms of culture and economic life were backward or primitive. On the contrary, diversified applications of water power around the Mediterranean, as well as advances in the water powered milling technology, the use of hydraulic mining techniques. See, they have developed, we cannot say that because these people were very undeveloped or they were nomadic kind of people, there was no progress at that time. Okay, ऐसा नहीं है. See beta this. They use water power a lot because they had Mediterranean Sea. So they had a lot of power of water. So they started using the power of water. Hydraulic mining techniques. Hydraulic mining means doing mining with the help of what?
Water.
Water. They were using this technique for extracting gold and silver, that is in gold and silver mines. We had discussed the difference between mines and quarries. For metal extraction, it is mines. So we are talking about gold and silver mines. And the gigantic industrial scale on which those mines were worked in the first and the second century. So much so that the level of output that would not be reached again till the 19th century. So much of production was done at that time. It was such a huge mine that the production was never so high till which century? After that, that level of production in the 19th century. Imagine. One side we are talking about the 3rd century. They were using and producing so much with the help of these mines that in all these centuries, nobody else, no other kingdom could have so much of production till we reach that figure. How many years? After how many years?
1700 years.
1700 years. See, beta, wonderful minds they had. They had well organized commercial and banking networks, proper banking networks. Widespread use of money are all indications of how much we tend to underestimate the sophistication of the Roman economy. Of course, this raises the issue of labor and the use of slavery. What are the good points? That it was a very, very rich economy. They had huge mines, they had banking network, So these are all the good points, beta. Money was circulated, but there was, however, because of all these increase in mines and quarries, there was one problem which occurred, that was slavery and labor. Slavery and labor. So we were talking about, let's see what is this. See this and read what is this.
Yes, ma'am. Said.
Yes, what is this picture beta about?
A shipwreck of the south coast of France.
Can you guess what are these after the shipwreck which are visible in the picture?
Amphiorae.
Good. What were they? They used to carry what?
Wine and olive oil.
Very good. Very good. So they was becoming powerful. We had rich people which were basically producing a lot of wheat, lot of wine, lot of olive oil. On the other side, we had people. What kind of a culture? In
Pastoral.
yes, they were still struggling. They used to live in oven-shaped huts, which were called
Mapalia.
yes, and they used to even live on the top of the hills. Hilltop villages called
Castilla.
yes. So give me 2-3 points to prove that the economy of Rome was doing wonderful at that time.
Um, the Romans built many many water powered hydraulic mining techniques which were used to extract Spanish gold and silver. And we can also see that there was well organized commercial banks and banking networks. There was also widespread of usage of money all around the kingdom empire.
Yes, Peter. But because there was so much of progress, there used to be some issues also. So there was one issue of what things?
Labor and the use of slavery.
Slavery also. Because there are so many mines, quarries, factories. So workers have to be controlled. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Just read about this treatment of slaves. This is a historian review. A historian, Tacitus, has written about this. Let's see what the historians tell. How were the slaves treated at that time? Read quickly. How were the slaves treated?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Peter.
Who is a Senate?
Okay, I'll explain it to you. Just give me 1 second. You read it quickly. Let me explain the entire paragraph.
Okay, ma'am.
Should we discuss?
Yes, ma'am.
See, soon afterwards, the city prefect Lucius Pedonius Candus, he was murdered by one of his slaves. Must be the king or the head. He's murdered. Who has murdered him?
The slave.
Okay, they must have got so sick of him. After the murder, the ancient custom required that every slave residing under the same roof must be executed. So, because obviously a rich man, he had many slaves. So, supposing we are talking about a factory where he had 1,000 slaves. So, what did one of the slave do? He murdered him. He murdered his own, what should you say? The owner of that ferry or the mine. After this incident happened, a rule was made. What was the rule? That if such kind of incident takes place, then all the slaves under that roof means all the others who were working in that particular organization or that particular mine, all of them will be executed. Did you understand this line?
Yes, ma'am.
This happened after one of the slaves, he killed Lucius Pedonius. So a rule was made. After this murder, a custom was made. And the custom was that every slave residing under the same roof must be executed. They said because one has killed him, so all of them should be killed. But a crowd gathered, eager to save so many innocent lives, and rioting began. But there were people who felt that this is wrong. They are all innocent. They had not done anything. So a lot of people gathered to save these slaves who were innocent, and riots began. You know what are riots now?
Yes, ma'am.
We talked about Senate yesterday. The members of the Senate were mainly Italians. When the king took over, you remember Senate? Kind of parliament. This, when I was explaining Senate to you yesterday, I always told you it's kind of a parliament. Some important members whom the king is supposed to consult when he's making important
Okay, ma'am.
decisions. That is Senate. Like we
Okay,
have
ma'am.
parliament. So what did these people do? Riots began. They captured, kabza kar lena, besieged the house, Senate house. Like we have Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, the meetings take place in parliament. So the Senate used to sit and the meetings were all the meetings were conducted at a place that was known as Senate House. What was that place
Okay.
called as?
Senate House.
So it was captured. Inside there was feeling against excessive severity, but the majority opposed any change. Most of the people, they opposed this, that there should be no change. We are talking about whom? The senators. The senators
Okay.
favoring execution prevailed. What is happening? Who is favoring the execution?
The Senate.
The senators, the people who are in the Senate, the members of the Senate. However, great crowds ready with stones and torches prevented the order from being carried out. But the common man, the public, was not satisfied with this order. So they came with stones and torches. Nero rebuked the population by edict and lined with troops the whole route along with which those condemned were taken for execution. But that time, the head we had was Nero. He rebuked the population. He actually scolded them or harassed them. And the whole route he lined with whom? His troops. The whole way he had put his army. And these people were taken for execution. That means they were executed. And when they were taken for execution, so that whole path, this person, the ruler Nero, he had put whom?
His troops.
Troops, so that the common man, the common mob cannot come and create any problems over there or cannot make them, take them away from execution, cannot save them. So they could not do much. All of them were executed over there, beta. See this. This was the condition. Slavery was an institution deeply rooted in the ancient world, both in the Mediterranean and the East, and not even Christianity, when it emerged and triumphed as a state religion, seriously challenged this institution. See, 2nd and 3rd century, we had slave trade. In the 4th century, let me show it to you. Christianity, the religion followed in the 4th century was?
Christianity.
And it is believed that church says or the Bible says that everybody is equal. Okay? But surprisingly, even they did not challenge this slave wala system, this institution. It does not follow that the bulk of the labor in the Roman economy was performed by slaves. They are saying that it is not so that most of the work, the laborers were all slaves, but this is true for large parts of Italy in the Republican period. We are talking about this Augustus. You remember the first ruler of Rome?
Yes, ma'am.
That time there were 3 million slaves in a total Italian population of 7.5 million. So you can see the ratio. Total population was?
7.5 million.
And out of them, how many were taken as slaves by the king?
3 million.
See the number. If you see, Roman agricultural writer advised landowners against using them in contexts where too many might be required. See this beta, slaves were an investment. They were considered to be an
Investment.
Like now, if we have money, people do investments. They can invest in the property business, they can invest in the share trading business. So that time, the investment was done in the form of buying home.
Slaves.
Slaves. So this was considered to be an investment. And one of the writer, he advised the landowners against using them in contexts where too many might be required, for example, for harvest, or where the health could be damaged, for example, by malaria. So there was one person, agriculture writer, he's advising the landowners that do not use them, okay, where too many might be required. Where supposing you need 100 or 500 people, then prefer not to use slaves. We should not use slaves. We can use paid laborers over there. Slaves are different from paid laborers, beta. Slaves were only given food, shelter, and clothes. They were not paid anything for the work which was taken from them. They were different from the laborers or the workers. These considerations were not based on sympathy. What is he advising them? He's advising them that do not take slaves at the time of what?
Malaria or some disease.
Or at if they have a disease, or at the harvesting period when you need a lot of labor, don't use slaves. And don't use slaves when they have diseases. It is not that he was kind or he was very sympathetic for them, but on hard economic calculation. Economic calculation. On the other hand, if the Roman upper classes were often brutal towards the slaves, ordinary people did sometimes show much more compassion. Okay? See, this is the compassion which is shown in the reign of whom? Who was the ruler at that time?
Augustus.
This incident when it took place. Who was the ruler? Whose reign was it?
Nero.
Nero. See, it is mentioned here. Famous incident that occurred in the reign of Nero. What does this incident show? This shows, listen here, upper classes were brutal towards their slaves. The Senate also supported the law, and the king also got them executed. So what does this show? That the upper classes, did they support the slave trade or not?
Yes, ma'am, they did support it.
They did support, because if you remember, the Senate also agreed to it. And of course, Nero got them executed. But you must have also seen this line through, that the ordinary people showed sometimes compassion towards them. We saw the ordinary people revolting against this decision or not?
Yes, ma'am.
But the upper class did not support them, beta. As warfare became less widespread with the establishment of peace in the 1st century, the supply of slaves tended to decline, and the users of slave labor thus had to turn either to slave breeding or to cheaper substitutes such as wage labor. In the 1st century, everything was very peaceful. There was no war. So slaves were not needed as such for wars. So that is the reason the number of slaves tended to decline. Okay. And they were mainly put for slave breeding. What is slave breeding? See, the female slaves were encouraged to have more number of children so that the number of slaves could increase for the owner. This is called what? What is this called as?
Slave breeding.
Slave breeding. The female slaves were encouraged to have more number of children from their male partners so that they could have more number of slaves, so that they could substitute as wage labor. Wage labor is a labor. If you get work, you have to pay them wages. But for slaves, no money was paid, no wages were paid. So Whenever they needed more labor, sometimes supposing they need 100 labor and they have 60 slaves. So they had to hire 40 wage laborers, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So they wanted to substitute these wage laborers. They wanted more of slaves, but they did not want to buy them. So they encouraged which breeding?
Slave breeding.
Yes, Peter. If you see this. In fact, free labor was extensively used in public works at Rome precisely because an extensive use of slave labor would have been too expensive. Okay. Free labor was extensively used in public works. What are public works?
Mm, building roads and houses
Something very good,
and
something
buildings.
which is done by the ruler. Unlike the hired workers, the slaves had to be fed and maintained throughout the year, which increased the cost of holding this kind of a labor. Gradually, people started feeling that they are more expensive than the wage laborers. Because wage laborers, whatever work they are doing, they were paid and they used to go. But for slaves, the entire responsibility came to the master. They had to be fed, the food, the lodging, everything throughout the year. So this increased the cost of this kind of a labor. This is probably why slaves are not widely found in the agriculture of the later period, at least not in the eastern provinces. In the beginning, when we started, we said out of 7.5 million, the king had how many slaves?
3 million.
Now imagine the king was supposed to take care of the food, the living, the clothes, the medication of so many people. Gradually, when the centuries passed from first century to second and third, people realized that this was more expensive. Slave labor were more expensive, beta. So when we talk in the later period, the slaves decreased. On the other hand, they are freedmen, that is slaves who had been set free by the masters. So what did the masters do? They started making the slaves free. Why? Because they were very expensive to keep them. What were these men called? The ones who were made free? First, they were slaves. Freedmen. What were they called, beta?
Free.
Freedmen.
Freedmen.
The men who were earlier slaves, but then later the masters made them free. Then they were used as business managers, where obviously they were not required to in large numbers. Masters often gave their slaves of freedom capital to run businesses on their behalf or even business on their own. They said, okay, go, we'll help you, you do some business of your own. Or they used to keep them for their business, but then they started paying them wages. Stopped the responsibility wala thing and just paid wages. This is how the slavery system came down a little. Okay, let's discuss this. Why did the slavery system come down gradually from the first century to the later centuries?
Because the masters of the slaves felt that they were more expensive than wage labor and thus they sought out to free them.
Okay. What were those men called who were earlier slaves and later their masters made them free?
Freedmen.
Yes, they were called as the freedmen. In the first century, slavery was very high. They've given you a figure which proves this. What was that figure? Approximate total population and
Out of the total population of 7.5 million, there were
yes.
3 million slaves.
And what is slave breeding?
Slave breeding is one thing. The practice of encouraging uh, the female slaves and their partners to have more children.
So you think slave breeding was encouraged in the first, second century or in the later centuries?
First, second century.
Yes, beta, because later people started realizing that they were more expensive because they had to be fed throughout the year. They were to be taken care of. They, their families, everything had to be taken care of. So gradually they were led. Given an example to prove that the upper class were very brutal towards the slaves, but the common man had compassion for them. What example will you give me? This one?
The